Hello and welcome back to Coffee Kurosawa, the friendly film crit podcast. I'm Ben Filipkowski, your resident film fanatic.
And I am Farrah Sarpkaya, a person who loves film, but like in a super chill, pretty sure I've watched this 12 times and I will watch it 12 more sort of way. And today we are talking about The Thin Man. In this 1934 classic, trophy husband / ex-detective Nick Charles and his wife Nora drink and party in New York City. Somewhere between martinis, Nick solves a murder. Dorothy Wynant is engaged to be married, but there is one problem. Her father, wealthy inventor Clyde, is missing after going away for business. The wedding's set for the days following Christmas, and sleigh bells are already ringing. Her mother, Julia, Clyde's ex-wife, insists that's just how he is, but Dorothy knows her father values nothing more than the promises that he makes to his daughter. Dorothy turns to someone she trusts, her old family friend Nick Charles. Nick reluctantly gets involved, thanks in no small part to the cajoling from Nora, his wife, who's very excited at the prospect of seeing her man in his element. A few drunken sing-alongs, bedroom shootouts, and midnight investigations later, Nick and Nora assemble the suspects for a dinner party, revealing who done it, why, and how, and the movie wraps with Nick and Nora winding their way back to San Francisco by train, sharing a car with the happily newlyweds, and definitely do not engage in anything the censors would disapprove of.
Not a thing, no.
Not a thing. All that to say, Ben, what did you think?
Yeah, we were talking about this. I think this movie's weird. I get it's supposed to be a classic. I do think it's a weird one. I think I liked it best at the times when it kind of leaned more into the classic film noir tropes, because the comedy is at times bordering on the absurd, maybe the slapstick as well. It feels a little out of place in the story at times. It kind of works. I don't know. I got thoughts on that. What strikes me the most about this movie, though, is probably its status as one of the last pre-code Hollywood films. That is to say, like the pre-Hays Code. So this was like we'll get into this a bit later, but like this was the kind of like moral guidelines for filmmakers in the 40s, 50s, and early 60s. And it's odd to watch because this movie is thirsty in a way that movies even today are not. And I mean that truly in both senses of the term, in a lustful sense and in the, hey, let's tie one off and party sense. People drink so much in this movie. And like, I mean, like I enjoy a drink now and then. I enjoy like relaxing after a work day with a beer. But boy, these people go hard. Like they go so hard. And it's not even necessarily like a cleaned up version of that either. Like people have hangovers. People get real sloppy in this as well. It's interesting to see. And on the other sense of thirst, Nora has the hots for Nick in a way that, again, we do not see this that often, even in 2025. Even well beyond the specter of the Hays Code hanging over film production. They love each other, they like each other, and they're into each other. It's nice to see. It's a little jarring because, I mean, you don't, like, movies are very chaste these days. That's just kind of the nature of how they are. And that kind of feels like a countercultural thing to me in a sense, because nearly every movie I've seen in my life exists in that kind of post-Hays period. So inevitably there's some moral baggage that's being carried over and carried forward. And I kind of appreciate that this movie isn't as explicitly moralizing as a lot of the actual Hays Code movies are, and a lot of stuff even these days might be. Like there are bad guys and the bad guys get caught. There are good guys and the good guys catch the bad guys. But there's not this like, there's not that like overtly Christian sensibility of like, well, you turn to crime, you got to die or go to jail right away. Like there's kind of like justice will be served sort of sense to it, which is kind of nice. And they even have like friendly neighborhood gangsters who like that guy. Nick gets shot by the friendly neighborhood gangster, and people are like, he's not necessarily angry about it, more just like put out. He's like, I'm fine. It just grazed me. This is fine. Bring the whiskey. I'll be okay.
Nothing that a stiff drink can't fix.
Yeah. So I kind of like this movie, but I think it's really weird. And I do think most of that I chalk up to like the Hays Code historical stuff, which that stuff's fascinating to me. So I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about it, because that's actually on the first item on our list of things to talk about for all of the reasons. So you mentioned the Hays Code. When did it come about, and why, and like what is it actually, if we're thinking about, how it changed the film industry?
Oh boy, I'm so excited! I took so many notes on
You're gonna have to Coles notes this. We only have an hour.
Yeah, the Hays Code is this thing that springs up around the 30s due to what I would call a perceived moral panic. There were some kind of like notable controversies surrounding Hollywood in the 30s, but I think a lot of that, you kind of obviously some bad stuff happened with these controversies, but I think like when you compare it to anything in the news cycle today or over the past, near century since this occurred, it's kind of like, oh, well, that's like a sex scandal and that's a murder. Like that's bad. Like, no one's saying that's good, but fairly tame by today's standards, certainly. So the long and short of it is that there wind up being these like religious and predominantly Christian, Catholic even, religious interest groups that start kind of trying to boycott Hollywood. They hold a lot of sway, and Hollywood is kind of left with this problem of like, we got to clean up our image. We got an image problem. We got to address this. This is where William Hays comes in. William Hays is he's a higher up in his Presbyterian church. He was the former Postmaster General to U.S. President Warren Harding. Hays was also the chair of the Republican National Committee prior to this. His time in Harding's cabinet comes to a close in 1922, following some involvement in the Teapot Dome scandal, which, when I wrote these notes, I read a lot about the Teapot Dome scandal. I've completely forgotten what the Teapot Dome scandal is about. Focus on the word scandal there. Maybe that's why I included this. Yeah. Hays winds up as the inaugural head of what will come to be called the Motion Picture Association, or the MPA, which we still have to this day. He's brought on following some of these notorious scandals and growing pressure from these religious groups to clean up the pictures. His big challenge is actually pretty straightforward one, and kind of a pretty material one as well. Like, he's hired by these Hollywood studios to solve this problem because the big issue is that nearly every state in the U.S. had its own censorship and ratings board, and none of them were necessarily sharing any details about this. Overlap was kind of really hard to parse out, so it's like something could be good in, say, like New York State, and not good in, like,
So is that like something could be PG-13 in New York City and R-rated in California, or is that just like you're allowed to do this or you're not allowed to do this?
Yes, all of the above. Okay. It certainly seems like it was like one place would be like, this is PG-13, and that means something very different somewhere else.
Right.
But also the reasons why it's PG-13 are not necessarily being shared. So it winds up being this like back and forth with the censors. The studios are wasting money on cuts and reshoots and doing all this work. This is what we would call a compliance nightmare. This is rough. Like, and there's no standardization. There's no real communication. So like, that's a problem. That is a genuine problem. Hays is brought in to help solve this. Any attempts at like a federalized standard are met with serious doubt because no one really wants to play ball. And everyone's just like, well, the studios can just self-censor. We don't need a framework for any of this. Hays basically develops what will become known as the Hays Code to try and suss out what individual censors will and won't object to. I think this is interesting, again, because like this is a very material concern. This winds up being a money problem. Right. We get all this moral oversight into Hollywood and into filmmaking in the United States just because they're spending too much money trying to appease the censors. Or they're not able to get their films into market to recoup any of the expenses they've paid. So that's really interesting. The Hays Code initially is made up of two parts, which is general principles and particular applications. Now, like, I don't know, to you, what that might sound like. To me, those both sound super vague. That seems like a problem.
Just a smidge.
Yeah, you're trying to standardize something, and you have general principles and particular applications.
So helpful.
Super helpful. studio heads were actually pretty willing to go along with this kind of a more vague code because they're like, well, like we got loopholes here. We got stuff we can work with.
Yeah.
And this kind of gets shut down gradually. And one thing that I think I'm talking about here that if you're listening, you might think like standardization for censorship for ratings boards. That can't be too bad, right? Like, obviously, there should be something for, there should be some kind of indication for an audience, like, hey, here's a heads up of what to expect, right? Yeah. The Hays Code's bad. The production code is very bad. I've copied some of the text of it into my notes here. I don't want to read too much of it, but it is not a stretch to say that the Hays Code is explicitly not only like paternalistic, but homophobic and openly racist. It's like, it's real bad. There's this whole undercurrent of Catholic morality to it to kind of justify a lot of it. I have a quote here. No picture shall be produced that will lower the moral standards of those who see it. Hence, the sympathy of the audience should never be thrown to the side of crime, wrongdoing, evil, or sin. So, like, that's bad. You can't have someone down on their luck turning to crime. You can't have someone caught up, made an accessory to something unwittingly. That's just bad. It gets worse.
And just for like examples for this this is why you get 2 beds in a married couple's room sort of thing, right? Because you don't want a man and a woman in a bed together, even if they're just sitting there reading. Yeah. Because that might imply a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, and like to be clear, like other problems in here are like sex perversion or any inference to it is forbidden. They don't actually explain what sex perversion is in the code, but in practice it winds up being used to target any depiction of, you know, LGBTQ people. Immediately below that is a statement that miscegenation, sexual relationships between the white and black races is forbidden. That is a direct quote from the code. It's real bad. Like, it's real bad. Yeah.
It includes a note that no film or episode may throw ridicule on any religious faith. Yeah. Which is truly just, it gets worse. So if you're curious about this, go read it, because this changed film so much. Because if you go to movies like Thin Man and so pre-1934, 1932, whatever, it is fascinating to see how much sex, violence, crime, how political stuff could be, and so on, and then how much that flipped following 1934. Yeah. Like, we think of like old-timey music, movies, whatever, as like, oh, they were so coy and whatever. It's because of this. It's not because people back then were like stuck up necessarily. It's the powers that be that cracked down hard on all of that stuff in movies. Yeah. Yeah. Like, so this basically shapes that kind of like, that almost winking nature that the movies develop. Yeah. And that's why we get, and we were just talking about this because this movie has kind of an early instance of the like the North by Northwest, you know, the married couple embrace, and then it cuts to the train going into the tunnel. And it's like this very suggestive thing. That's why like the movies turn to these things to sneak things past or to get things through. And one last note on how bad the Hays Code is. Hays winds up hiring Joseph Breen to enforce the code. Breen was a noted anti-Semite who had actually worked more than a few times with Nazi representatives in Hollywood. There are demonstrable instances of Breen suppressing criticism of the Nazi regime and fascism in general. So that's bad. It gets a little worse because Hays also winds up developing a list of 117 performers with, air quotes here, inappropriate elements in their personal lives, which deems them unfit to be in films. This is basically a blacklist before the blacklists are a thing. So yeah, the Hays Code stinks. It's bad. It took a very simple material goal and absolutely filtered it through this terrible ideological lens to suppress things that literal moral guardians deemed inappropriate or immoral. And surprise, surprise, it's the marginalized and racialized groups that bear the brunt of this. So it's rough. So shocked.
And I'm not.
This is my shock.
Yeah, and I'm not. To be clear, I'm not trying to say that Hollywood pre-code was somehow this like progressive utopia, but it gets worse after this point. So
yes, And so, because the Thin Man is very early on in the Hays Code, one thing you mentioned was the fact that they continued to crack down on things, but in the beginning, as with many laws and regulations, things slip through. Mm-hmm. There's still people trying to figure it out, trying to figure out how they crack down on these things, what counts, what doesn't count, whatever. And so this is a really interesting gray area, I think, of pre and post, where you've still got some, like, kind of racy jokes, but not quite. We have those criminals that are just guys. Yeah. We have some reformed criminals that are, like, actually pretty chill. We have some really empowered women, which is really awesome to see. And yet, we do have a lot of that wink, wink, nudge, nudge, know what I mean, sort of, like, jokiness that gets really quite a bit stronger as the Hays Code really comes into effect.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like, what we really need to point out here is that when we're talking about this as, like, a pre-Hays Code movie, when we say this is a pre-code movie, this is a pre-code movie by, like, 3 months. It comes out in the spring of 1934, and I think the document that we are citing in our notes here, the Motion Picture Herald reports on the text of the production code on August 11th, 1934. It's just, like, barely any time between these things, this thing dropping and the Hays Code coming out. So this is, like, right before the gates come down, so to speak. And it does get a lot of mileage out of, like, it feels racy because this isn't necessarily what you expect from this period of filmmaking because of the Hays Code. And I mean, we're talking about people tying one off. Nora has a wicked hangover for, like, 10 minutes in the movie.
She wears a little ice pack on her head that she's tied with a bow underneath under her chin.
I mean, I think we also see, because, like, there's a point Nick gets grazed by a bullet. We see blood from that, which doesn't really show up later on. There's a lot of stuff in here that's just, like, the humor alone. Like, I think we got, all I can think about right now is Gilbert. Like, Gilbert being Gilbert is he's Dorothy's brother, Clyde's son. We should also clarify, Clyde is the Thin Man. The Thin Man is the victim of the crime.
No.
Clyde?
I'm pretty sure the Thin Man is Nick Charles.
I looked
because
this
the rest
up.
of the series is.
I did look this up. Yeah, they had to shift it. They're like, they had to shift it in the later narrative sequels because they're like, well, it's weird that the title character died in the first movie. Yeah. Like, so now it's got to be, Nick has to be the Thin Man.
That's so funny.
So the Thin Man is the missing guy, is Clyde. Spoilers, Clyde dies.
Spoilers for this almost century-old movie.
But, yeah, like, Gilbert winds up being the source of a ton of humor. Gilbert's a freak. There's no two ways about this. Gilbert's a weirdo. He's a freak. Gilbert is he's an
alienist.
Yeah, he wants to see, like, what is it? He wants to be present for the autopsy. Yeah.
Yes.
He wants to be present for the autopsy of a dead body of a criminal. Yeah. Or because he's got some weird theories. Yeah. He's a weirdo.
He also tells his sister she has an Oedipus complex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, okay.
And then he's like, I have a mild one, but it's okay. And, excuse me, sir.
Yeah. He's a mild one, but it's okay. And then he's talking to the reporter. And he's like, well, my father's a sexagenarian. And the reporter's like, we can't print that.
Well, then, like, just say he's 70.
And the guy's like, oh, it's not a sex thing? Oh, okay. Like, that's
poking fun at it. Yeah.
That was a good bit.
They have some really good one-liners in this movie, and it delights me.
Yeah. Also, another thing that I talked about Gilbert here, but I might as well talk about Gilbert's mom has remarried a man who may or may not be involved in some shady business dealings. That's Chris Jorgensen is the character?
I don't think they're actually married. Just point of order.
Oh, they're just together.
They're not actually married. They're just shacking up.
They're just shacking up.
Which, whew,
well,
1934, shacking up.
Well, even the fact that they are divorced and they're talking, like, because Clyde talks early on in the movie about how, like, oh, well, like, it wouldn't be that weird, would it, if we were all at the wedding? It's like, no, like, you all have to be there. So it's kind of like this, like, acknowledgement that people would get divorced, people would get split up and continue on with their lives, which, I mean, I'm trying to think of that happening in Hays Code movies. And admittedly, I don't watch a ton of movies from that period in time, so totally possible, but just seems like a thing that doesn't happen as often anymore. Like, if it did happen, it would probably be presented as like a broken family sort of situation versus a they're just trying to get on with their lives.
The biggest contention that they ever show between Clyde and Julia, so Dorothy's mom and dad, around the divorce is money.
Yeah,
that's the only piece that ever really comes up. They're not emotionally attached to either one. He's not jealous of her new boyfriend or whatever.
Yeah,
it's literally just she wants more money, and he's just like, I can't just give you all the money. I just can't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So.
Did you catch that bit? He confronts Julia, who I guess is his secretary and mistress? Maybe? I don't know.
Julia's his wife. No. Wait.
Julia's his secretary.
Julia is his secretary.
Mimi is his ex-wife.
Mimi is his ex-wife.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Anyways.
I screwed that up in my intro, too. Tisk, tisk.
Anyways.
That's okay.
But there's some dialogue. I think I took a note on it. Let me see. Yeah, when Clyde confronts Julia at the beginning about, like, the missing bonds, because she fully cops to having taken some of them, I believe. And
she's been slowly selling them.
Yeah,
for
it's a there's some language in there that I wish I'd written down the exact, like, phrasing, but it seems to be heavily coded to imply that, like, Julia had a past working as, like, a sex worker or something. Was my read on that. I don't know if maybe I'm reading too much into that. I really wish that I grabbed the dialogue there, but it was kind of like, because Clyde goes to see her, but then she has a gentleman caller, and there's like, and the guy's like, oh, well, is this your, like, there's some uncertainty over, like, what the relationship is there. And yeah, that stood out to me as like, oh, wow, I don't know if you'd, surprised that they would do that, and you certainly would not have been able to get away with it later on in 1934. But yeah,
right, yeah. There's a lot of those things, and the fact that we can get away with this, we get away with they have a big Christmas party, and, like, everybody is like, they're not even 3 sheets to the wind. They're the whole darn printer package, you know. Yeah. All of them. They're just like, send them up. Get more booze, just keep going, keep the night going forever.
Yeah.
And you have people singing, you have people crying. One guy's, I think it might be one of the reformed criminals, crying on the phone to his mom, trying to call San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see this type of debauchery in later films. And certainly not this wholesome.
Yeah.
Is, I think, the part that intrigues me the most. Because even today, when you have big house parties like that, scenes of big house parties where everybody's drinking, everybody's whatever, stuff is getting broken, it's not usually seen as, like, a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas here, it's just a bunch of people celebrating Christmas or Christmas Eve together, drinking, having a good time, and then everybody goes home.
Yeah.
Like, that's... the end. There's no moral capstone at the end of, oh, and partying is wrong. It's just, we had some drinks, we had some fun, and then that's it.
They had a lot of drinks going on that drunken sing-along.
Lord.
Good Lord.
I don't know what was in those glasses while they were actually filming. I would hope water, or else that movie would take a lot of time and a lot of whiskey. But the amount of drinking that happens during this film is aggressive. My favorite scene will always in this movie be in the first half, where Nora arrives being pulled by their dog Asta, who we haven't mentioned yet, but I should point out is a constant in this film, and I adore him. She falls. Presents that she's been bought for Christmas go everywhere. She joins her husband at the table in the bar, and the bartender brings them both a drink, and she says, Nick, how much have you had to drink? And he says, this is my 6th. And she says to the waiter, bring 5 more and line them up right here in front of me. And I'm just like, oh, Nora, what a treasure you are.
She's like, I'm going shot for shot.
That is exactly the next scene of her walking around with an ice pack.
Yeah.
Stylishly propped on her head with a lovely bow under her chin, of just, what hit me? The 6th drink. And you're like, get it, girl. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But again, it's not, there's no moral punctuation on that. It's just, you drink a lot, you're going to get a headache.
Yeah.
There's no morality there. It just is what it is.
And
it feels really refreshing. Again, even compared to today's films, where a bender is usually punctuated with something bad happens. Someone crashes the car, someone gets hurt, some money gets spent that shouldn't have been spent, something gets lost. No, you just got a headache.
Well, yeah, like a bender is directly related to your psychological, to a character's psychological, level at that point. It's typically done to show that they're either like they're crashing out big time because they're actually super depressed, or they're they're going off the rails one way or the other. That's kind of the shorthand of those sort of scenes nowadays. And the fact that isn't the focus for this is remarkable. I mean, I think I will also say that like Nora's hangover is also still a super Hollywood hangover, and then she's like, oh dear, I have to have an ice pack on my head and quip hilariously about certain things for a few minutes here. But yeah.
It's like the lady with the rollers in her hair and the hairnet wakes up and opens the door with the rollers blearily. It played like that a little bit.
Yeah. It's such an interesting time capsule, I think is the best. That's my big takeaway from this movie. I'm going to be completely honest. Like a lot of the twists and meanderings of the plot, I was like, okay, we can get on with it, guys. Like we can cut some of this stuff out. But I do like the performances quite a bit, and Nick and Nora are worth like their kind of like on screen chemistry and banter is fantastic.
So good.
Yeah, so good, so fun. And I want to point out this is another Dashiell Hammett novel.
Sure is.
That's been adapted. I think Hammett did a pass at the screenplay. I'm just looking that up now. He did not, but I think he had some input on it. Based on another novel by Dashiell Hammett. So this is, of course, this will come out immediately after our episode on Yojimbo, which is also loosely inspired by Dashiell Hammett. So we're just on a Dashiell Hammett kick here.
Apparently.
Yeah.
If you go onto the Thin Man on IMDb, one of the featured videos is Nick Charles on the cover of standing in a big box that is a book, quote unquote, of a Dashiell Hammett novel as Nick Charles. Like, it's very good. One of their promotional materials. And so he is, and I think this is a really good point to pivot to how this movie plays really well with tropes, because the Thin Man, or I should say Nick Charles, because apparently not the Thin Man, is a reluctant detective. So this trope appears a lot in film noir, where for some reason or another, the detective doesn't want to do the detectiving anymore. Whether that is Sherlock Holmes going to retire, whether that is Philip Marlowe being like, I'm not looking for Sean Regan. Why is everybody asking me to look for Sean Regan? In this film, Nick Charles does not want to be a detective anymore because he married a young, beautiful heiress, and he wants to go enjoy his retirement and drink himself to party
Yeah.
and enjoy the wealth that he has married into. So instead of this really dark, kind of edgy, like, oh, everybody wants to get me to look for this person and it's a whole thing. It's just like, nah, man, I won the jackpot. I married a pretty, younger, rich woman, and I can just chill out.
Yeah.
I don't want to go do work. That's boring.
Why would I want to do that when I can just do this?
Exactly. Yeah, I have no need to do this. I have no drive to do it. But he's still a brilliant detective. He's just like,
Yeah, he's very much like if I think it's the station agent or the Continental Op is like another iconic Hammett hard-boiled character. And it's very much like, what if that guy just like won? Like, what if that guy had a happy ending and like married big and he's just like, oh, sick, I could just drink and party and hang out with my hot wife.
My PJs.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, walk my dog.
It's so good.
Tell bartenders how to make drinks. I think that might be my favorite bit, is the introduction. Nick and Nora do not show up until like 40 minutes into this film. Like, they're not present in a lot of it. There's a lot of setup. Nick shows up. They're at this New York bar, and the bartender is I think there's like two bartenders watching him. And he's like, now, how you shake the drink, you have to like shake it. You shake these drinks to a foxtrot and these to a samba or something like that.
And a tango.
Yeah,
a martini to a tango or something, And
then he's like, and great. And then he pours it out. And he's like, fantastic. And then the bartender puts it on the little serving tray and hands it to him. And he's like, great, thank you. Like the drink that he's just made. And drinks it in one go.
Yes. There's a really great, because that is, right before that happens, the camera scoots underneath a piano, looks at the whole room, and you see a man in a beautiful suit shaking a martini shaker.
Yeah.
And then we talk to Dorothy. And then the camera moves through the crowd and then frames up around the man in the beautiful suit, who turns out to be our hero, Nick Charles. And that, that's such a good introduction to be like, he's not detective. He's not sitting in a seedy little office in downtown dirty New York, like with a cigarette and a scotch waiting for the femme fatale to walk in. He's just like living his best life in this beautiful bar full of rich people.
Guys on the Upper East Side.
Yeah, just
living it up.
Teaching professionals how to mix a drink to a foxtrot. Like, And again, it's that same almost wholesomeness that I really love, that he's just like, he's reluctant. He's brilliant, but he's reluctant to do it. But there's no angst.
Yeah.
It's just like, what? I'm rich. Why would I do any of this?
Yeah. Well, it's that brilliant but lazy sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like the only reason he winds up doing it is because Nora clearly has the hots for seeing Nick in action. Like, she really likes the idea that she married the bad boy, and he's this super competent detective. Like, she keeps pushing him towards like, no, you should do this. Like, you're good at this, and also it's hot. It's hot when you do this. You should do this. Yeah. That's very funny to me. That's deeply funny to me.
And that's another one of those tropes, and we'll dig into this a little more later, but she is an heiress. She is rich, she is young, she is beautiful, she's smart as heck, and she holds her own. And instead of having like the ditzy blonde who swoons at anything and this is a thing that comes up a lot at post-Hays Code, where ladies must be, everything is awful. She's just like, she's super into her husband. She's super into any of the adventures that they go on.
Yeah.
And like, anytime he goes off without her to do detectiving, she's like, hello, that's rude. Yeah. I wanted to go on that adventure. Oh, it's so good. Like, they really do, again, take that wilting flower heiress trope of, like, the posh spoiled princess. If she's like, no, she rebelled against her daddy, married a detective. Daddy's dead. She has all the money. She can do what she wants.
Yeah.
And I love that for her.
Well, there's like some line where it's like they own a train
Yeah.
line or something. They own shipping and passenger train line or something.
She's like,
they're loaded.
Old
They're
money,
loaded.
big money. Like,
Yeah.
our great grandchildren won't have to work kind of money.
Yeah. And there's also that little bit where, like, I think Nick explains, like, the money that they have. And he's like, well, my job now is to manage that money and to look after it. And it's like, Nick, you're not managing anything. You're not doing a single thing.
He's managing how the money is spent sometimes.
He's managing.
By which I mean
Yeah.
when he puts money down.
Yeah. He's managing his level of intoxication at any given time. Yeah. This is just an aside.
Yeah.
I thought that the Nick and Nora glass, that kind of like almost kind of like halfway between a martini and a coupe, I think.
Yeah. Like a Chi-Chi glass?
Yeah, the cocktail glass, the Nick and Nora glasses. Yeah. I thought those were like, oh, they must have been named for this. Therefore, this glass style is from like 1934. No, it's from 1985. Some guy was like, oh yeah, like I like that movie and those stories, so I'm going to develop this glass for these cocktails. And it was part of the, I think it was like part of, I looked it up and it's like the cocktail revival, the North American cocktail revival or something. But it's like when cocktail bars started becoming popular again in the 80s and 90s. So
that's so good.
Yeah, I thought like,
Nick and Nora would be delighted.
Yeah, I was like, there must be this long, lengthy storied history. It's like, no, it's only like 40 years. I was like, oh, interesting. Yeah.
So another one of the tropes that this plays with is the alienist. And we've already kind of mentioned Gilbert. He's a little weirdo. Mm-hmm. Again, the brother of Dorothy, the son of Mimi and Clyde. And he's an alienist. So if you've ever seen that TV show or miniseries, I think, on Netflix, it's basically like the prequel to criminal psychologists. What's it called? The people that go into like talk to the criminal and you're like, oh, this person is a serial killer. We're going to figure out how they did the thing. And profilers, thank you. Criminal profilers. That's what an alienist is. And Gilbert,
I
don't want to say he's dumb.
He wants to be that.
He wants to be it so badly. But he's like the opposite of Nick, where he's so keen to do the thing, and he's rich, and he could go to the best schools and do all the things, but he's just a little weirdo.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, well, I'd very much like to see a criminal body and examine the criminal body and see if that's got anything interesting. And also, my sister has an Oedipus complex, and I only have a little one, but that's okay.
Yeah. And he leans closer and closer and closer to the detective. And the detective's like,
can I help you?
He looks so uncomfortable.
I think like every cop in that, like because I think we talked a little bit about how the police inspectors in this are a little like bumbling.
Yes.
But they are at least canny enough to understand that we got to put Gilbert on a watch list. Like, that guy is going to murder someone.
Just out of curiosity. Yeah.
Like, just because he thinks it would be interesting. Gilbert's a weirdo. I think most of the humor in the movie that comes from Gilbert winds up being semi-unintentional because of how it reads today. A lot of it is deliberate, but there are bits there of like, this guy is a copycat killer in the making. Like this reads so differently in like a time frame where we've been inundated with like true crime. It's so funny.
Yeah. So the actor who portrays Gilbert is William Henry, and he's just so deadpan and so what's the word I'm looking for? He takes it so seriously. It like is so good. And there's a, like, the moment that he is, so once upon a time, we had landlines where you could pick up the phone in the other room and listen. Oh, God, I feel old some days. And someone asks him, were you listening on the phone? He's like, of course I was. Like, that's a foregone conclusion. And you're like, man, what are you doing? But yeah, so many moments of just like this little guy. It's just, yeah, he's gonna Dexter somebody one day, and it's just no one will be surprised.
Yeah. This movie's got a lot of just like weird little side characters, and Gilbert is chief among them for sure.
Mm-hmm. I also have. Go ahead.
No, I particularly enjoy seeing a young Cesar Romero as Chris Jorgensen,
yes,
who may or may not be the new stepfather of Gilbert and Dorothy,
or at least their mom's boyfriend.
Yeah. Cesar Romero might be more known to listeners as the 1966 version of the Joker in Batman, who famously refused to shave his mustache for the role, so they just put the makeup over.
Some dedication.
Yeah. So, yeah, we could probably spend like 3 hours talking about tropes in this, but I think like my favorite trope in this might be just how into Nick Nora is.
So good.
It's that trope of like, it is that trope of like, you know, she's married the bad boy. They have this certainly a deeply loving relationship, but you know, she's very like, I got to see you in action. Can you beat that guy up? I bet you can beat that guy up. I bet you could solve this case. I bet you could do this. You're so cool. You're so awesome. It's so sexy.
In another world, he is wearing a leather jacket with like greased back hair, and she's in a black leather catsuit, you know?
Yeah. I think the funniest instance of that has to be when like the gunman comes into their bedroom and she doesn't clock it right away, and Nick's like, can you please like pay attention to the situation that's happening here? And to get her out of the way, Nick spins around and goes to shove her, but winds up smacking her in the face and knocking her out. And then he gets grazed by...
the sound effect is a punch sound.
Yeah. He gets grazed by a bullet. The police and Nick subdue this gangster. And then they wake up Nora, and her main objection is like, I didn't get to see you take the guy down? Come on. Not fair. That's all I wanted. And then they give her a drink, and she's like, "That I need another drink. Thank you."
To quell my disappointment.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
I mean,
your note is that she is a character with gumption, which is a wonderful word that we discussed at length in our episode on the holiday. But talk to me about Nora and women with gumption in this movie.
Yeah, so one thing that you see a lot in even to this day modern films is you don't see a lot of ladies. And particularly ladies with gumption. And when we say gumption, we mean agency. We mean talking to each other about things that aren't men. We mean women that know what they want, right? And there's a really excellent other podcast called the Bechdel Cast, which is speaking to the what's called the Bechdel test of, does this movie have two women or more talking about something that isn't a man for like, I think it's like 5 minutes or something across the course of the film, something like that, because that doesn't happen as much as you'd think. Because it's, well, maybe you would think. But so this film has half or more cast of women, and they're not obsessed with the men in their lives. They're talking about the crime. They're talking about, you know, what they're doing. They're all sorts of stuff. And don't get me wrong. It's not, no film is perfect when it comes to this kind of thing. But like, the women in this film know what they want. They are real, actualized, fully fleshed out characters, even if they are like caricatures in some ways and like overdone. This is the 1930s. There was a style. But, like, Nick and Nora, and I think this is why this is one of my favorite films, Nick and Nora, and particularly Nora, because, again, we don't see this a lot, they really love each other. Like, they're super into each other, like you said. And that adoration for their partner, for their life, for what they're doing, the wherewithal to just go and do the thing that they want to do, and is not something you always see in films nowadays. And that's she has that. Even Mimi has that. Even Dorothy has that to an extent as she's trying to find her father. And like, she, like, at one point, Dorothy comes to the Christmas party of the Charleses in their hotel room. I should say hotel room. I should say hotel suite, because it's like multiple bedrooms and like all this. There's a kitchen. It's a penthouse. Yeah. And she pulls a gun out and says, "Oh, Nick, I shot my father." And he's like, "Okay, did you shoot him? How many times did you shoot him? Did he fall forward or backwards? Did you this or that? Or shot this other woman that dies in the film?" Mm-hmm. And she answers them all wrong, but she's trying really hard. Yeah. But the fact that she is so full of conviction, and it's not played for a gag, it's played like she really and truly cares about her father, and she is willing to throw her life away to protect him.
Yeah.
That's what I see in this film in bunches and bunches, and I love it. But obviously Nora is the prime example of, she knows what she wants. She gets it. There's, you know, and she has the hots for her husband, and I love that for her.
Yeah. Yeah. I think as I'm thinking about it, I wonder if there's like a thing in here of like, some of these tropes work so well because they're not fully codified. They're not quite what they are these days. So they have a lot more kind of liberty and freedom to play with those narrative techniques and those notions. And I think as I'm saying this and thinking about it, there's kind of this thing in this film where the sort of construction of the narrative, what we clock as tropes, are just kind of things they're doing, if that makes sense. And so they have a lot more room to play, versus if you made this thing now, it's almost like there's a pathway that it's like, well, they set this up, therefore, like they use this trope, therefore this has to happen next, or they have to subvert it some way, or they have to play with it some way. And I think like this movie, I was complaining about this, has so many red herrings in it. Like there's so many false leads, and I get that that's kind of one of the features of a mystery. But it's odd to me, and I found it a little exhausting, because I think that a lot of mysteries that we watch as like a movie or you read as a book, everything is somehow connected in some way. Or like even the red herrings you investigate wind up revealing something about the case. Whereas they're just red herrings in this. They're just these things that amount to nothing. And I think that it makes it feel a little dated, but it also keeps it fresh at the same time. I don't know. There's probably like a deeper thought I can have about that, but it's like the idea that it's not so like calcified in being a mystery that it's not that it's forced to do a certain thing, and I think that kind of like speaks to the characters as well.
I think both plot and characters, because there are loose ends, because there are other avenues, it just feels more real. It's like. Yeah. People are imperfect. Stories are imperfect in real life. And if your story, and we talked about this with Star Wars actually quite a bit, if your story wraps up every single loose end 100% of the time, it doesn't feel realistic, because that's not real life. Yeah. Right? Like, if your hero is 100% perfect all of the time, no one's going to relate to them. Yeah. Because nobody's perfect. And this film does a really good job of giving us a more real, even if it's, you know, silly and slapstick and nonsensical in a lot of ways. But it feels more realistic because there are those dead ends and because these characters are multifaceted and I don't even want to say complicated because they're not complicated necessarily. They're just human.
Yeah. Well,
and messy.
I mean, as always, you bring up Star Wars and it, like, I have a light bulb moment, but it is kind of that thing of like the first Star Wars movie. Part of the appeal of it is that world of potential that it creates. Mm-hmm. You know, the first Star Wars is just the first Star Wars. It could have been anything after that. And it's all the subsequent stuff that is like, well, this is what it has to be because we've established X and Y and Z. And this movie kind of gives me a similar vibe, but more in terms of the character and the plot. Like, yeah, it is. There's not like a definite blueprint for what it has to be. It gets to be this thing, and it gets to play with these tropes, play with these characters, play with these notions and these ideas in a way that maybe subsequent movies, I haven't seen any of the other movies in the series, but maybe subsequent movies aren't quite as free to do. And I think that is really interesting to me. And, you know, if I want to be really big brained about it, that kind of like ties back in with the Hays Code and that like movies become a certain thing after the code is introduced versus this kind of more experimental time that they got to exist in. So,
yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because like at the Christmas party, for example, one of the guests is a criminal that Nick sent to prison during his detective days.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about with Star Wars is that they talk about the past, or like you get Obi-Wan's feelings about Vader without having to see it. Yeah. So we infer a history, right?
Yeah.
And this film, because you get all these snippets from Nick's past, you get old friends, you get, oh, I used to bounce this girl off my knee because he's known Dorothy since she was like a little kid, that sort of thing. You get a sense of the world beyond the four walls of the film. Mm-hmm. And that, too, gives that sense of continuity of, we are just stepping into the story for 2 hours or whatever. But if we'd rewound before the movie started, or fast forward past when the last film ends, there's still a world happening. We just aren't seeing it.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so it's those bits of the guy who's like, oh, hey, Nick, how you doing? Oh, great. Oh, hey, I sent this guy to prison. And he's here. He's a great guy. Like that's a very, like, it's a bit of a gag, but it's also like it tells us a lot about Nick's past. And that is, I mean, it's how you do convenient and simple backstory. Like you just imply and infer and have references to things that the audience isn't going to see. And at its best, that can just live in someone's brain forever. And at its worst, I mean, Star Wars kind of is trying to fill in all the blanks, but, you know, I've complained about that plenty. And we're not talking about that.
We'll do more Star Wars episodes other days too, I'm sure. But it also tells us a lot about Nick, that a criminal that he sent to prison came to his Christmas party because he thought he's a cool dude. Yeah. You know? It's like, yeah, Nick's a great guy. He sent me up, but I probably deserved it. Like, it's not really... Yeah. Thanks to him, I turned my life around or whatever. And, like, that tells you so much about the character and how Nick lives within the world. Like, we never see Nick in this film as anything but the very rich... the husband of a very rich woman. And... so we don't know what his life was like before. He could have been a Philip Marlowe type, you know, with his bedraggled, cheap suit that's maybe a little off-fitting, his tie slightly undone, you know, beating the mean streets in New York. He could have been something like that. But you don't really get the sense of that because everybody kind of likes him, even if he's crossed them somehow or some way. He's somehow met this beautiful rich lady. Was she a femme fatale once upon a time? Who can say? But it makes you want to learn more.
Yeah, maybe there's
okay. Thin Man universe? Cinematic universe? Let's go.
Maybe there's a reason her dad's dead. I don't know. Who might have said?
Goodness me.
I think the thing that it reminds me of the most is the Looney Tunes. I think it's Sam and Max. Is it Sam and Max? You got the wolf.
You got to give me more details than that to go off of.
But it's like the Looney Tunes, Sam and Ralph. Like Sam is, I think,
and Wolf.
Sam Sheepdog, Ralph Wolf. Yeah, and it's like every day they clock in and they're very like, oh hey, morning Sam, morning Ralph, and then they try and like get one over on each other the entire day to various degrees of success, and then they clock out, and it's like that's the job. Like Nick's job isn't to like condemn, criminals to like death or anything. It's like he's catching them. And then they face the consequences. Maybe that's some jail time. Then they're out, and it's like, oh, like he's doing his job. I'm doing my job. We are in this ecosystem of crime and policing. I don't know. There's something there that I really enjoy. It's kind of the friendly neighborhood gangster vibe. Yeah,
yeah. Because you plugged that at the beginning, and it reminds me a bit of if y'all have seen the Penguin, the TV series that came out. Last year, 2 years ago?
I think last year.
Where he talks a lot about that guy. Because once upon a time, and nowadays too, I obviously do not have experience with these things, so I can't speak to details. But like, gangs, as they are seen within their own communities, can also be forces of good. Because they are not protected by the police. Because the police are there to protect the wealthy and the powers that be and so on, right? And I don't mean to get political every time. But anyway, the fact that we have these gray areas that acknowledge, okay, yeah, like there are good quote unquote bad guys, good criminals, because they are working within a system that is flawed to help other people necessarily or whatever it looks like. Again, lends realism, depth, to this film that doesn't necessarily show up nowadays, where we're very like, it is either good or bad, evil or righteous. It's like, that's not, that's never gonna be true.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'll say on that front though is like the idea that like the idea that like that organized crime can be good for the community. Yeah, certainly there's a historical truth to that in some cases. But I think like if you look at the motivation behind it, the crime groups are typically doing that as like, this is good cover. It's good to have the community on our side versus a genuine sense of altruism. So that would be my only like gentle pushback on that.
For sure.
But yeah,
it's
like,
one of those things of like, ends means motivation.
Yeah.
Again, gray area.
Yeah. It's
I think there's
Go ahead. Sorry.
One of the first episodes of Game Changer, there's a truth machine, and one of the players is like, stealing from billion-dollar corporations doesn't count. It's like, well, it does count, but also like gray area there's a whole discussion there, but that's kind of part of that same, we exist in a system and how does that all fit together? And anyway, it fascinates me.
Societies are complex. There are a lot of
societies are complex. Yeah, exactly. Sure. Yeah. And this movie probably also quite complex, but not in the not in that way. Just a lot of red herrings and a lot of cool characters.
Yeah.
So if you were to watch this movie, what would you learn from it? If you want to learn about an aspect of film, what would you learn from The Thin Man?
I think if you want to learn about what Hollywood was once upon a time, I think this is a great thing to look at. I think this is a great avenue to kind of explore detective fiction, because it is a different sort of detective fiction that we've probably covered. Like, we did High and Low, which is a very much more that hard-boiled genre. It's a tense thriller. There's humor in it, but it's like few moments to break tension. This is like a comedy almost first, I think. Like comedy first, detective story second. I think if you want to see how you can play with the genre, this is absolutely worth looking at. And I think if you want a bit more of like a historical lens to look at some developments in Hollywood, this is a great, great place to start because it hits literally months before the Hays Code takes effect. So you can see kind of some elements of the Hays Code popping up in this, but it's still so early on in that it gets away with a lot to some extent. Like there's a lot in here that probably wouldn't have passed muster for state censors much later on. And yeah, I think it's worth watching for that alone. But if you want to watch something on Friday night, Farrah, why this?
Because it's fun. Because it's funny. Because the relationship between Nick and Nora is just the cutest. I don't want to say wholesome, but like kind of. They're very much in love. Mm-hmm. And because it's just a good movie. Like it's just a good movie. And that's why you'd want to watch it, yeah. I think anyway. You'll laugh, and that's important nowadays. Speaking of laughing, you can find us at Patreon and Coffee Kurosawa. I'm good at this. You can also find us on Blue Sky as Coffee Kurosawa Pod. You can find me on Blue Sky and Letterboxd as Farrah Sarpkaya and all the other socials, and at sarpkaya.ca where I lend my voice as a voice actor. Ben, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky as at the Benjamon and on Letterboxd as at Benjamon. And yeah, I think that brings us to the close of another episode in the podcast.
Sure does.
And, hope you enjoyed, and we hope you tune in for the next one.